Ladies and gentlemen, I greet you in my tribal language, which is Skarure. I said, hello, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad that you are here, and thank you. We have the opportunity here today, ladies and gentlemen, to present ourselves in a manner that is very befitting in the area and the environment that we're in, to represent who we are from a factual point of view, to represent ourselves in a manner that our words and our actions are balanced, that we present ourselves that is the beauty of who we are in one particular manner, and that is our dancing, it is our singing, and how everything and all things are connected. And so to be, again, fair, to be also respectful and courteous, I greet you in a manner that most of you are used to hearing. Good morning. You know, folks, for us as tribal people, it's very important that we present ourselves in a particular manner. Some will say from a traditional point of view, some will say from an etiquette point of view, others will say in reference to our traditions, our customs, and our teachings. And what you may, of course, refer to as rules, policies, procedures, mannerisms. And so you'll find that there's a lot of words that will be shared here today in the very short period of time that we have. And can we give you everything that there is from a spiritual standpoint, mentality, or however way that you want to see this in the period that we have? No, of course not. Well, we are here to provide you with what we can from a realistic point of view, from the perspectives and perceptions that we have, you may have, and to hopefully, before we leave here today, engage ourselves in communication, conversation, to converse, to share, never to be in conflict, but at times be unique in who we are from who you are. And I would find that through my own due diligence and understanding of the type of environment that I am in, is that this is what we do, that we can share with each other, that we can be a people that have various mannerisms, various ways, and various beliefs, and that still be able to be in the same room here together. For us as tribal people, as Native Americans, American Indians, and all those other wonderful terms that are placed upon the first peoples of this land, is that we are an example of this, that when we gather together during our gatherings, our socials, our powwows, our competition events, is that we have a variety of tribes, clans, bands, and societies that are in one circle, and that we're moving many times in a clockwise direction. There are times that we're moving in a counterclockwise direction, depending upon where you're at. And yet, as we're all in that circle, that even though we represent all these various tribes and ways, that we can still respect and show courtesy and honor to each other while doing so. And this is what this environment reminds me of. I am also to be reminded, as I share this information with all of you, that we do nothing on our own, ladies and gentlemen. I could not be here before you and say what I say and do what I do without someone teaching, sharing, taking time with me in order to do so. And so I have with me a very dear friend of mine, one who was just a guy that I would see, becoming someone that I would get to know, a student, becoming a friend, and of course, a Randanus. And in my language, that means brother. So would you please give a warm welcome to Mr. Lewis Campbell, ladies and gentlemen. Symmetry is very important. Balance is very important. So you see me standing on one side, you're going to see him standing on the other. That is purposely done, ladies and gentlemen. I am not the center, like many of us have maybe thought long ago that we were the center of the universe. For some people, they are in their own minds, in their own worlds. But for us as tribal people, we realize that there is a role that we all play. There is a balance, mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. Those are the 4 areas of our lives that many of us are taught. Now, I say many, and you're going to hear me use the word I. You're going to hear me say the word we, us, and they are purposely being used. Because when I say I'm not being egotistical, ladies and gentlemen. What I'm doing is I'm being respectful. You say, well, how's that? I, me, me. You know how that goes many times in the world that we live in. But when we do it, ladies and gentlemen, from a traditional standpoint, it's to be respectful of Lewis's ways, the person now may be speaking with one-on-one or in a mass situation. That it's about how I was taught, not to, again, go against the way you were taught. For I to say that these are my teachings and my traditions and my customs, not to say that they are the way, the customs that should be followed. So hopefully here today in this short period of time, you're going to realize that I'm not here to point out the differences, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here to point out those common characteristics that we can all share and that we all have. In fact, more so those cultural common characteristics, the 3 C's. And so this is what I want to share with you from the very get-go. Because some of us, like myself, can be slow at times, and so I don't catch on as quick. So I want to put out there right here, right now. Please, ladies and gentlemen, don't look for the differences of who we are. Let us look for the common characteristics. When we speak about balance, you see Mr. Lewis Campbell dressed in what some people, maybe even the children, might say, that's a beautiful costume. And ladies and gentlemen, in actuality, it's a beautiful regalia. It's a beautiful outfit. It's beautiful clothing, but never, ever a costume. Why? Because some people in the world dressed up just maybe days ago, actually more than days, maybe a couple of weeks, and they wore things to pretend to be who and what they're not, or maybe what they want to be later on in life. Either way, Mr. Lewis Campbell doesn't have to pretend to be anything. He's tribal, he's indigenous, he's Lumbee, he's Blackfoot, so he doesn't have to pretend to be anything. So no, not a costume, but a regalia, a suit of honor. And just like the man who introduced us, what he wore was his regalia. What he wears is his regalia. It's a suit of honor because he's honoring a variety of situations by the markings, the colors, the shape, all of that. And so once again, commonality is what we're searching for here today. Spirituality. What is it to be spiritual? For us as tribal people, it is the foundation. It is one aspect, it is one of 4, yet it is truly a foundation. Because when we do what we do, it is out of 2 words or 2 reasons, respect and honor. Now, you're not going to hear me get up here and say what is right and what is wrong, because that's an opinionated situation. From one religion to the next, from one group of people to the next, from one ethnicity to the next, from one culture to the next. That is a unique situation, but it's also an opinionated situation. So what I will say is that there's an appropriate way and inappropriate way to do what is done, no matter who you are, no matter where you're at. Because when I stand up here, I can either do something inappropriately, like lie to you, make up something stereotypical, something that sounds good, or I can do what's appropriate and give you the truth and the reality from what I have been given. And so this is what we do here. So when you see him dressed in that beautiful regalia, you're saying, well, wait a minute, there's 2 natives up there. Why aren't you dressed in your native regalia? Because we need to break the stereotype, ladies and gentlemen, that to be native, you have to be dressed in some type of native garb. That in order to be native, you have to know everything there is about every tribe everywhere that exists. Or the stereotypical idea that I was going to get up here and say, how? And greet you in such a manner. No. In fact, I was going to greet you in what my adopted mother's tribal language is to say hello, is to say haukola, not to have to throw my hand up, but to say it correctly and appropriately, just as I did in my own language. So why is it that we're taking so much time to speak and talk instead of dancing like I thought these guys were going to do? Is because, ladies and gentlemen, there's a balance between the words and actions. And I can tell you that the world that I have seen is that people can talk a good talk, but can they do the walk as well? And so once again, words and actions should be a balance. But as I bring Mr. Lewis Campbell forward, I'm going to ask him to step forward, and as he does, you hear those bells. No, not because we're getting close to Christmas time or that time of holiday that people may celebrate in whatever way that they do. But he wears those bells for purpose and meaning. And just like a spirituality that many people have, there is reason why we conduct ourselves the way that we do, the way we present ourselves the way that we do, the things that we will wear and adorn ourselves with, the things that we will hold and carry, the things that we might even, again, utilize to cleanse and to clean, to purify, to use in a way that will create a better situation, or what I will say, wagwas unekwa. Can anyone say wagwas? Can you say unekwa? Wagwas unekwa, ladies and gentlemen. Wagwas unekwa, young children. There you go. Good job. I see you wording it. There you go. A little shy. When we say that, it means good medicine. When I see you smiling and laughing, that's a good thing, right? Well, that's what we do. Waguas unequa, good medicine. And that can be done in a variety of ways. What he wears, what he holds, how he presents himself, how he feels, can all again be utilized to create that situation. So when we say waguas unequa, that's good medicine. That can be utilized in a variety of ways, all across the board, holistically, as we like to say. So those bells, yeah, purpose and meaning. Why? What is the purpose and meaning? Is it just so he can be heard? No, it's to make sure that when he's dancing, that he's right along with that heartbeat. So ladies and gentlemen, everyone here, including the children, can you take your hand and place your hand up in the air? Very good. Now, can you take your hand and place it over your heart? Your other heart. There you go. Your other heart. And when you feel your heartbeat, that's what we dance to, ladies and gentlemen. When we hear that heartbeat, it represents a variety of things. To some of our tribes, it represents thunder from the sky, something that was a gift from the Creator, something that let us know that Taudio Wandat, he who holds the heavens, that entity that has given us all that we have, us. I didn't say you, I said us, because I don't want to be, again, disrespectful towards anybody's thought processes or spirituality or beliefs. But Taudio Wandat, he who holds the heavens, one who's given us everything that we have, that entity reminds us, to us, that there's an existence of something greater and higher and stronger and more powerful. So therefore, whenever we do stand up here, this is why he may wear certain things, I may wear certain things that represents this. When we stand up here and we're talking about waguas unequa, and we see our children, we're reminded, what's the purpose of the bells? What's the purpose of respect and honor? It's because of what the people did behind us and what the people here, what we do for them that's in front of us. It's not about ourselves. And Taudio Wandat reminds of this in many ways. That again, that thunder that strikes, it lets us know that we didn't do that. Taudio Wandat did. He wears moccasins on his feet. Everybody's heard of moccasins. Oh, that's what Indian people wear. Okay, that's their shoes. Have you ever thought about the variety of moccasins that exist in the world? Why no two pair of moccasins look exactly alike? Is because those moccasins help to represent who he is. They help to represent the area of the country that he's from, his tribe, but also his band, clan, or his society. It helps to represent the environment. It helps to represent a particular group that he belongs to. So not it's about just covering your feet, okay? But it's about showing who you are. And that's from the bottom. That's the foundation, ladies and gentlemen. Your feet are your foundation. So therefore, once again, that foundation has already been set. When you look upon him and his clothing, you'll see again other items, just as those angoras that are around his feet. You'll notice that whenever you see a Clydesdale, you see, again, a lot of hair around their hooves. And so for us, we are to imitate, we are to utilize the things that are around us that are gifts from the Creator, from Taudio Wandat, and to show ourselves in such a way. It's not really too different from, again, other people around the world who utilize things to show their strength, their speed, their endurance, their agility. Our children will maybe perhaps play sports, and there are a variety of ways that they will show that as well. We're no different, ladies and gentlemen. So just like that mountain goat and just like the horse, speed, stamina, and agility is what we show when we dance, when we do what we do. Not just about dancing, but also about when we are interacting in daily life and all that comes with that. You see him, he's got designs, colors, markings, much like the gentleman that was up here and introduced us earlier, much like our military and those who have served. They wear those uniforms. They're marked with certain insignia, certain colors and designs that represent what they've achieved, what they know, what they can give to someone else. We're the same. These markings and colors and designs can represent, again, the air of the country. We are Eastern Woodland people, ladies and gentlemen. We are not plains. We are not those on the West Coast. We are not our brothers and sisters from the southern area of this continent that we call Turtle Island. We are Eastern Woodland people. And so when you look upon his clothing, there are certain designs and insignia that will show that, those roses. But let's go a little bit deeper, as we should with anything, and that those roses may help to represent something about him personally, something that he holds dear and close. So you see, it's just not designs, it's just not decoration, purpose and meaning, once again. When you look upon him, you see again those items in his hand, that fan, and you notice that dance stick, But that dance stick is a symbol of him being a warrior. There's going to be a lot of things that's going to show him as a warrior. Just like those who are prayer warriors, like my grandma used to call certain people, and she was one too. When those earnest prayers were so strong that, again, what she would sacrifice in order to pray and do for so many others. Not about herself, but about the many. And so as a warrior would, it's not about him, but it's about who he protects and how he does so, historically and still today. You find that also there's other things that he might wear around his neck, that he wears across his chest, on his arms, that represent the area of the country that he's from. Once again, the deer. Can anyone say aquay? Aquay. There's a lot of aquay in the state of Maryland. In fact, we see them on the highways, right? We see them in our backyards and so forth. I saw 3 of them walking down my street 4 nights ago. So you see, aquay, well, for us, is the animal that we would hunt. And so he shows that by what he wears on his arms. You'll find that aquay is important long ago, still today. But how we treat aquay is so very important. It represents something about us. We don't hunt aquay just to kill. We hunt aquay to supply nourishment for our bodies. In fact, when we were being placed on reservations, which were doing nothing more than concentration camps where we couldn't practice our freedom of religion, we couldn't hunt the way we used to, we couldn't even practice our ceremonies that proved us to be not children anymore, but moving into adulthood, womanhood, and manhood. We couldn't practice those. And during that time, we weren't allowed to hunt aquay. You know what we were allowed to do? We were allowed to be given rations that would barely keep us alive. People love fry bread today. Not a healthy thing, but we had to do so. We created that situation that now many people enjoy around gatherings and powwows, but yet it originated out of something terrible, something negative. And what did we do as tribal people? We adapted. We didn't assimilate, we adapted to the situation. And so when you look upon Lewis and the things that he has and things that he wears, whether it's on his arms or anywhere else, what that representation is, the history behind it, and how we utilize it today. These will come across in the dances that will be done here as well. And on top of his head, the most important item, those eagle feathers. He has other eagle feathers that he wears and utilizes, but those eagle feathers on top represent him as a leader. Mr. Lewis Campbell is not only my brother, but he's also a fellow consultant. He goes around throughout the country, throughout North America, teaching, sharing culture, spirituality, in his own ways, in his own beliefs that will come out later on today. And there, too, will be a balance that will be shared. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, a lot of talking going on, but imagine if we had had a bit more talking in the beginning of the contacts that our people had with people around the world, and how those contacts would not have turned into conflicts. It's amazing how words have the same letters and have opposite meanings. How the word assimilate starts with A, but so does the word adapt. I can tell you right now, assimilation is a dirty word to us, ladies and gentlemen. But adapting is what we've always done. And so with all that being said, and now you've placed your hand over your heart, and of course, an understanding of what that drum beat is to us, let me grab that drum at this time. The dance and the songs go together. Just as many people will sing songs like hymns, will sing songs of spirituality, our songs that we sing are the same. They are similar. It is just done in a very unique way. Where when people first hear our songs, they say, oh, it's screaming and yelling. And no, not at all. That our songs are much like any other songs around the world. It has a rhythm, it has a beat. They have a lead, one person starting out the song, and then a chorus, everyone else coming in. That we have, again, those sounds that are repeated over and over and over to the point that they just stick with us. They're inside our heads and they reach here, our hearts. Those songs have been passed down from generation to generation. And yet our children are the ones that are composing new songs for us to dance to that represent their feelings, represent their sounds, but yet still connected as all things are. So when this drum is being hit upon, I don't use my hand, I use a drumstick, I use a beater, because to strike this drum with my hand would be disrespectful. It would be rude. And so this hand drum I use here today, but if Lewis had his way, he would not have me singing, he would have a big group singing. Somebody like Stony Creek or War Paint or some group like that, there are 10 or more guys sitting around a big drum, what we call akriyasu. Can you say akriyasu? Akriatsu, grandfather, because we treat that big drum like a person, like another entity with respect and courtesy. And so we use our drumsticks to strike Akriatsu in a respectful way. So as you listen to this, watch him dance. Watch his movements. Think again of what your idea of a warrior is. And then I'm going to tell you mine as you're thinking about that. My idea of a warrior is one who has situational awareness. You're going to watch him dance, and his head's going to be moving around all the time. We have to deal with situational awareness now, ladies and gentlemen. Unfortunately, we do. Then the next thing is you're going to watch him. You're going to hear his bells. You're going to hear this drum, and hopefully they're going to be simultaneous. Staying in connection with that rhythm and that beat, much like we try to stay in rhythm and beat with this Mother Earth. And when we don't, there's conflict, there's chaos, there's confusion. When we hear these songs and we dance, we're mindful that there's a way that we are to present ourselves. That when he dances, he keeps his arms sort of out in front of him, not behind him. Any warrior knows that you can't put your hands behind your back and think that you can protect yourself or people around you at all times. When he's moving about, he's not going to be dancing backwards. He may take a step back to say or show something about a conflict or a situation in his life, but never to dance completely backwards. Why? It's a sign of a coward, sign of retreat. And no warrior ever wants to portray that. As he dances, you're going to see him move about. And as he does, as if he's telling you his own story. Conflict between him and another warrior, conflict that goes on in the world, and how he defends himself against that in a spiritual way. Throwing his fan up, deflecting that negativity, using, again, his staff, using his dance stick, his weapon, in such a manner that says, I'm here to defend, no matter what the cost. And whether he wears that headdress or whether he wears a headdress that represents a warrior that would stake himself to the ground and would not leave until the battle was over. We are in constant battle, ladies and gentlemen. We're in constant battle against negativity and unrighteousness. We are in constant battle against wrongdoings. It is a constant battle that is always taking place. And how do we prepare ourselves? And we'll get into that in just a moment. But this is the physicalness that goes involved. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us give Mr. Lewis Campbell a round of applause for what we call traditional dancing. We talk about things that provides us spiritual strength, purification, or cleansing. And so for me, whenever I travel, whenever I have eagle feathers in my possession that I've been gifted and honored with, that we are told that there are things that we must utilize because it's a responsibility, ladies and gentlemen. You know, many of us, we love accolades, and we love kudos, and we love the opportunity for people to compliment us. And that can be a very respectful situation. It's a good feeling, you know, but that good feeling can turn into something that it should not be. It can turn into ego. It can turn into a situation where we think that we are so much better than the other individual. And I always tell people, the difference between thinking and knowing is thinking and knowing. I think I'm better. I think I feel better than this guy over here, or this woman over there, or this person, or this individual, or this human being. And so, you know, we're reminded that we are to have humility. We are to be humble. And for us as tribal people, we know that's one of the hardest traits to have. Courtesy and respect. Love for each other, sure. But humility, very, very tough. And so Lewis allows me to speak on his behalf and speak good about him because that's what I'm here to do. That's what I've been taught to do. I can also be honest and blunt, and when there's something done that is inappropriate, I can speak about that as well. But when we hold certain things in our hands, we utilize these things to serve as symbols of our beliefs. So this was given to me back in 2019, and I was humbled by it. It reminded me that when I do have something in my hand like this wampum belt, that I am to be truthful, and my words are to be honest. And I'm not to say things that I don't know, but to say things that I do. This is why it's so easy for tribal people to get up here and not read from a piece of paper, because we just talk about what we know. When we hold these other items in our hands, that those eagle feathers that he wears and these things that I have on my hand, that I must remember that there are people that won't appreciate what I do. They won't appreciate what I say. They won't appreciate Lewis. So we have to take these things and we have to use them. So when we pray, that we smudge ourselves, we purify ourselves against that negativity. That when people are looking at me, that they're wishing harmful situations on me. It's not to say anybody here is doing that, of course not. Yet we never know. We're all human. And so with misunderstanding, with miscommunication comes negativity many times. So I use my tobacco in this bag. I use my sage in this hand to do that. Much like many other people who use incense, who use oils, who use things, not because they put their faith in those things, but they use them as symbols of what they do put their faith in, whatever that may be. For us, it is many of these items. And this is why tobacco will never be a negative situation for us. Yes, there are chemicals and there are things that are laid in tobacco today that hurt people and cause harm. But I have never known any study to say that tobacco before European contact or any other contact and the chemicals that were placed in this tobacco, that people were dying from such a substance. So you see, it's not about what I think, it's what I know, ladies and gentlemen. So this is why we hold on to these things. But I want to show you these things. I want to show the children these things. Because again, there are a variety of things that we use to symbolize what we believe in. And these are two that we use, again, for our cleansing of who we are, not just from a physical point of view, but from a spiritual and social point of view, from a mental point of view. These are the things we use. I'm going to ask the children that are sitting down here if they wouldn't mind standing up. Would you please stand up? Yahweh, thank you. As you're standing up, Mr. Lewis is going to come down and join you. I'm going to ask if you would help us out with one of our social dances. Do you mind helping us out a little bit? All right. Could you make one line holding hands? One line holding hands. There we go. Everybody holding hands. You know, when you hold hands with somebody, you create a bond physically. You show a person that you can respect them, and you show courtesy by holding their hands and not squeezing it. For us, for tribal people, you know, most of our dances are individual dances. We don't make physical contact in the arena. When we are doing so, the way I was taught, it's like prayer in motion. And we don't want to interfere with one's prayer. We are saying, Yahweh, thank you for the ability to stand. Yahweh, thank you for the ability to have breath in my body. Yahweh, for the teachings and for the people before me. Yahweh, for the opportunity to be amongst my brothers and sisters, to see old friends and to make new friends. What an incredible gift it is that Tardio Wandat would wake me up again to allow all these things to happen. So when we do have these dances that allow us to make a physical contact, like our social dances, it's a beautiful thing. When our people meet people from the east, or the eastern woodland people meet other people like from the plains or the woodland areas of Washington or California, or the First Nations people of Canada, or even our brothers and sisters who are down in what is now known as Mexico, we are all indigenous to this beautiful landmass that most people call North America. But for us, we call it Turtle Island. And Turtle Island, we have our own creation stories. We don't have enough time to get into all that, but I can tell you our creation stories are very vital to us. But one thing that is important, that these young people grow up knowing and understanding that no matter who you are, no matter where you're at, no matter where you're from, no matter what age, what's your ethnicity or your spiritual background, that we can respect each other, we can connect with each other. And so I'm going to ask that you make a circle, even though we don't have a lot of room here, we're going to make a circle. And as you make this circle, everyone is equal in a circle. Now, this circle looks like an egg right now, but that's okay, all right? The important part is that we're coming together. When you hold hands, you know, and you're in that circle, whatever is on the outside is left on the outside that's negative. What's positive and good on the inside remains on the inside. So you see. And as you dance, you're going to just let one foot follow the other. But you know what you're dancing to? You're dancing to a heartbeat. You're dancing to a heartbeat that we all have. Everybody here is unique in your own way. But we are all the same on the inside as human beings. We need that heartbeat in order to exist, to survive, and to coexist with each other. So as you dance, think about that. As you are dancing and watching these young people, see that they are the future of all of us, not just one particular group. They're the future of all of us. And how great it is that we can grow up with more positivity than negativity in this world. And this is the gift that we share with you at this time, what we call the round dance. As Lewis makes his way back up, you see again, smiles, laughter. This song would normally last for many minutes, maybe an hour or two, depending upon how many drum groups had an opportunity to sing their round dance songs. You know, it was an opportunity for the songs to be made in such a manner that they were very easy to pick up. So someone who did not even know the drum group coming out of anywhere had their drumstick, was invited to sit at that drum and to sing in unison. Unison, unity, together, not separated. That when we dance, that we could carry on conversations with each other and ask each other, hey, where are you from? What's your tribe? What's your band? What's your clan? Oh, I'm Raquis, Turtle Clan. Oh, I'm Bear Clan. Oh, I'm Bitterwater Society. Oh, I'm Sikang Ju from, again, representing the Plains area. So you see how, again, coming together is so important instead of the conflicts and the dividing people, the division. You know, I always say diversity is a beautiful thing as long as it doesn't divide us. You know? Here's the second thing I love saying after that. If I know who I am, no one can tell me what I should be. That's going to be an important rule for these children here. Something they could pick up on, utilize in their life. If they know who they are, no one can tell them what they should be. So we guide, we protect, we nourish. And for me, when we say love, that's what I do. I nourish and protect. We're protectors. We love our culture. We love our traditions. We love our teachings. And so we will protect them. And we will nourish our culture and traditions by making sure we pass it on to the next person, to the next person. To share it with people like yourselves so that you have the correct mentality about who we are as tribal people. Now, to realize we have our Native American churches. We have also those people who choose to believe in a particular religion or to be in the body of those who believe in the way that they believe. I'm very fortunate to have Lewis here. You know why? Because he's my brother. We don't have the same religious beliefs, and we can stand side by side and do what needs to be done in order to protect our culture. We are two people, ladies and gentlemen, who have varying degrees of how we do what we do. Yet we also have those commonalities that allow us to move together in a parallel manner or as one to make sure people see who we are in the correct light. So I say all that, ladies and gentlemen, because, again, it's not about thinking always the same way and doing the exact same thing all the same time. It's about respecting people. It's about being courteous. It's about not forcing anyone to do something, but sharing and allowing people to make their own choices. It's probably nothing new for anybody in this room, but I am speaking from our perspective, and I wanted to share this. Not every tribe is going to be the same. We all don't pray the same way. Some, we pray with our head down, we pray with our heads up. Sometimes we all pray in the morning, sometimes some of us pray at night. Some of us do both of those things. Some of us give thanksgivings in the beginning when we're in front of people, in front of our own. Some of us give prayers. And we pray in our tribal language, and sometimes we say it in English, whatever the case may be. Yet the respect level is always in play. So this final dance that he's going to do is what we call crow hop. Because to me, I love doing the crow hop. I love singing it. I love talking about it because it represents freedom. Freedom is not free. Many of our military individuals say that. But I can say from a person of culture, our culture has not always been allowed to be done freely in public. We can't always go where we want. That's the opposite of freedom. But you know, birds are a symbol of that. Birds are a symbol of many things. Some people read a book called the Bible and they say a dove was sent as a messenger that land would be near soon. For us, we say that the eagle is a messenger from the Creator, from Tardio Wandat. Symbolism is so important. And this is why we do what we do, say what we say, speak the way we speak, because it symbolizes who we are. So ladies and gentlemen, as he dances, you're going to hear that beat that has not been heard yet here before. You've heard a straight beat. You've heard a heartbeat that represents our social dances. And this beat, of course, will be utilized for the crow hop. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Lewis Campbell. Yahweh. Sometimes you hear people say, aho, because that's like saying amen, or you're right, or I agree. For my people, we say je, like the word, like the letter J, je. It gives you an idea, ladies and gentlemen, once again, that our languages are still alive, they are strong. And probably one of the last things I want to say before we go into any questions of what time we have is that we're not a people that are surviving, ladies and gentlemen. We are thriving. And we're thriving because we're allowed to speak about who we are, speak about our own tribes, our clans, our own clans that we belong to. And we're able to do it in a public setting that was once outlawed by this country. In doing so, that to dance and sing or to do a round dance and to bring people together were once outlawed. So yes, I love seeing change, but more so, I want to see positive change. I've seen change that has occurred for my people. It has not always been positive. So when people talk about change, it's positive change that I would like to see. Respect and courtesy, foundations. And so, ladies and gentlemen, to be respectful and courteous to you and to these children and anybody here, if you have a question, we would love to hear your questions at this time, whether you ask it of Lewis or myself.
This side and just kind of line up. And I also want to see, do any of our children or youth have questions? Do any of you have a question? If so, come over here and you can use the mic as well. All right, think about it. All right. Yeah.
Hello. First of all, thank you for this beautiful presentation today. I just have a sort of a basic question. Why is it disrespectful to use your hand on the drum? Why is that disrespectful?
So for us to strike the drum in such a way and utilizing your hand, There's teaching customs that have come about over eons of time, just like our dances have had an evolution. They've had a change. So for me, I can't personally speak to the very beginnings of singing and dancing in such a manner. But what I can tell you is what I've been taught. And what I taught is that if you strike the drum with your hand, it's an improper manner. There's not a controlling situation in that way. It's not to be disrespectful towards anybody else around the world who utilizes and does that. But for us, it's an extension. You know, it's just like when we played a cording flute. That cording flute comes from stories that have been passed down of how those things came through nature. And so at one time, we didn't have the cording flute. But when we did, we utilized it in such a way to be respectful of the things that were around us and why we were doing so. It was literally to attract the attention of a person that we felt affection towards. The drum is utilized in the same manner. And so once again, that heartbeat sound that we have is best to be utilized by this drumstick, this stick that we use. It's an extension of ourselves. Even the way that we strike that drum with this hand drum, we're taught, don't use your entire arm, just use your wrists, you know, and watch that. Be in rhythm with other people who are at that drum and doing so. And so it's a form of control, just like those bells may be in assistance to utilizing when he's dancing. It is about a proper manner. It's an etiquette to what is being done. And so I've been taught that you never strike the drum with your hand because, again, that is not a respectful manner to do so. Just like when we're sitting around that drum, there's ways that we'll conduct ourselves, not that yelling and fighting and issues. There's not to be that cussing and foul language that goes on, that may go on in other areas. And this is why when we say akriasu, we treat it like an entity all to its own. There's a way that you're going to address an individual as a human being, the way you're going to place your hands upon that human being, and that can be done respectfully or it can be done disrespectfully. So long answer to your question. Most of the way, that's what I do.
Thank you so much for sharing today. I have great respect for your cultures and your beliefs. And you talk about positive change, and I am heartened to hear that you can do so much more than you had. How can we be allies of you to help you continue to expand and be who you are within this space?
Thank you. Got your own thoughts about that?
One, we have Native American culture programs at different Indian centers. So you can always donate to the Indian centers, or we have different dance troupes that we go out and teach like this, to where you could donate to that or bring us to different events. That's a big thing for us, because we have 3 different Indian centers right in Baltimore, Maryland, that could always use help, volunteers, donations, whatever.
Organization specifically is Native American Protectors as well.
So my group is a consulting group. It's not the same as a nonprofit organization like the Baltimore American Indian Center, Native American Lifelines, Maryland Indian Tourism Association, because those are nonprofits. What I do it from a consulting basis. What they do is there to assist the community in such a way that is far more than what I could ever do and what they've done. In fact, I came up here in '94 because well, he's a mentor of mine. He said, I want you to come to Baltimore and apply for this job. I said, well, why would I do that? I'm touring up and down and traveling up and down the East Coast. He goes, well, you need foundation in your life. I was like, all right. And of course, you're young. You think you know everything. And of course, you don't. And so I did. And it was one of the greatest choices I ever made. I would have never met Lewis and had the opportunities that I've had since then. But that's why we rely on our older individuals to do that. And so it taught me that there's a way that you can help out in a lot of ways. You can be an activist. You can be a person who volunteers. You can be a person who learns what you can and utilize that not only for yourself, but for your family and the people around you. And then utilize that to teach others. And hopefully somebody be there to take your place. So nonprofits have their roles. Consulting groups have their roles. Performing groups, because Lewis runs his own performing group as well. And how we can interact and network and make what we're doing more accessible to more people. So how can you help? If you don't do anything else, just spread the word that tribal people live right here in Maryland, that you have tribal people who are willing to teach and share. You have tribal people who know what they're talking about, but not here to pretend. That we respect ourselves as Eastern Woodland people, and we respect those tribes from all over North America about their teachings, their traditions, and what they do. to bring in the people who are the people. If you want the indigenous people of Maryland to come before you, it's not us. Those are the Piscataway. They're the Acahonic, the Nasu Waywash, the Pocomoke, the Astroteagues. Bring them here and let them speak in their own voice, because that's what we're going to continue to do, speak in our own voices, but hopefully be the representatives that we should be of Native America.
Is there sign language for Native Americans?
I'm so glad you asked that. Okay, can you do me a favor? Imitate what I do, okay? You look pretty good. All right, now let's all do that. You look pretty good. And that's a bit of sign language for you. Thank you for asking that.
Thank you so much for bringing your gifts. In a society where appropriation and sensitivity to culture appropriation is increasing, you held a sage stick. I know some of our groups are really sensitive to saying, well, let's not use sage. So as Indigenous peoples, what can we do to be as cautious as possible to not appropriate improperly?
That's easy. All you got to do is ask. Ask the people themselves. That's what, someone once said, I hear it's offensive to say Native American. And I said, well, it depends on who you're speaking with. Some people say it's offensive to use the term Indian. Depends on who you're speaking with. My adopted mother doesn't mind the term Indian. Okay, great. I respect that. I myself, I don't like the term Indian because it's a misnomer. Columbus did not, as he was lost, call us Indians. He said Indios. He spoke Portuguese. So you see, it's those little things of understanding and comprehending history, and then the perceptions and the ways that people have done what they do and the mentalities that they have. Ask the people themselves. Appropriation comes in a lot of forms. Some people take it to a very high degree of what they don't want to see being done by others, and some people don't. Some of our people say, hey, we should not be dancing plains dances like Northern traditional and other styles. Okay, I can respect that. As long as you make sure you say that to every single person who does it, not just somebody on the East Coast or Eastern Woodland people. But then I had someone today say, or last night say, I see a lot of people from North Carolina wearing Haudenosaunee and smoke dance regalias, which is another style, another way of dressing. And so there were comments made there. So what is your intention? Is your intention to hurt? Is it your intention to make someone look bad or make someone feel in a way that brings them down? Or is your role to educate, teach, and share and say this is the proper manner and way something should be done? Are you that person to be doing so? I'm not participating in some type of Native American ceremony just because I'm Native American. I don't participate in certain ceremonies because I'm not of that people or that tribe, that clan, that society. So what degree do we take? What line do we go up to? What lines do we cross? And as I was talking to my brother here, everybody makes choices. Can you deal with the consequences of the choices that you make depending on what those choices are, whether they're positive, whether they're negative? And do you have the education to back up what you're doing, meaning the understanding and the due diligence you should have done before partaking in anything? I like to say a lot of times, most people won't wear a swastika because they have an understanding and a comprehension of it. And if you do, well, then that's the choice you make. But also come with what comes with that when you do so. But that's also important why you should know what you wear and what you use so that you're prepared to deal with that. I don't wear the symbol of the Native American church because that's a water bird sign. I don't wear it because I'm not part of the Native American church. So I don't represent it. I don't wear symbols of it. I will wear symbols that represent me, like this turtle clan, Raquis. I wear wampum to represent the type of shell that I would wear and use. I don't wear turquoise because I'm not Southwestern and I prefer not to wear it. I like gold. I like silver. So you see how all these things make me who I am and not what somebody else wants me to be or perceives me to be. Ask the people. Ask them. What's appropriate for Lakotas? What's appropriate for Seminoles? What's appropriate for Tuscaroras? What's appropriate for Southern Band Tuscaroras, like what I am, not Northern Band and not the ones who left North Carolina and joined the Haudenosaunee. Long answers to questions. I apologize. Really, I don't, but yeah.
Thank you again from all of us for your educating us. My question to you, I'm afraid, is a little on the political side, but a good side. Several years ago, the appointee for the Bureau of Indian Affairs is the first Native American person, a woman, heading that agency. Since that appointment, have you seen changes and progresses in assistance and services and so forth for the Native population of the United States?
Quick answer is yes. Quick answer is, or to justify why I say yes, is because we have tribal land that has been provided back to the tribal people of Virginia. That's one of the closest areas that I can think of where that change and that positive change has come about. I can tell you that from one administration to the next, there have been a lot of positive things that have happened for tribal people. I believe that there are individuals who have agendas who will never want to point out those positive situations. I do remember in the administration prior to the one that we are currently in, is that there were tribes that received federal recognition during that last administration. I do know of that missing and murdered indigenous women received federal assistance, and that there were federal departments that were put in place by that last administration. Yet I can see from the current administration that we're in that we've had incredible land rights and water rights that have been protected and provided to tribal people. So I'm a person of neutrality. I can be fair, and I can be honest and factual, whether it's politics or religion or social situations, whatever the case may be. I don't have a problem doing that whatsoever. No question is difficult. It's only difficult depending upon the reactions that may come about and what words are used. So here today, my words are just to be that, just to give them and allow people to do what they want to with them. No hidden agenda. My agenda is to make sure that we protect who we are, and that's why we refer to ourselves as Native America's protectors. We clearly, bluntly, we will protect who we are and what we're about, and we won't be utilized, or we won't be utilized for political reasons or any other social reasons.
Hi, I had a question about celebrations. So when I went to visit my brother in Spokane, Washington, I noticed he lives next to a reservation, and I noticed that every day at sunset there was drumming and dancing and singing. And I just didn't know if it was a seasonal or if it was a daily. And it was even, I mean, this was in January when it was like minus 10 degrees out, and it happened every day. And I just wanted to know, what are the celebrations you celebrate during the year, and are there opportunities for others to celebrate with you?
Yes, so many of the things that we do here on the East Coast are seasonal. Our ceremonies are for seasonal situations, so the changing that goes on. That's one of the great things about when Lewis was doing the round dance, he turned it into a snake dance, and then they came back into a circle. So the snake dance for many of us is taught that it's a representation of change that we go through, because change is always constant. So our ceremonies and our socials can occur because of seasonal situations. Our ceremonies can occur because children are going from womanhood to manhood, as I mentioned earlier, and there are certain things that would be done for that. Songs that would be sung, the way we prepare our food, the way we prepare our bodies, the things that we will wear. So I can't speak on what Spokane has done because, once again, I don't know everything about every tribe that there is in the world. But what I can tell you here on the East Coast, that's exactly why we carry out our social dances, our social songs, because we have these ceremonies that are based on seasonal changes that occur. For those individuals out there, I'm not sure. I can tell you that the Plains people, they have quite a few ceremonies that they do, depending upon death, depending on birth, depending on naming ceremonies. Like some people say, what's your Indian name? I'm like, well, okay, I don't know about my Indian name, but my indigenous name that was given to me when I was 13 is Asote. So you see all these things that come about depending upon who you are, what tribe you belong to. But yes, here on the East Coast, they are seasonal. We do invite certain people to be a part of them. Most of the time it's for the community, but not for the public. And this is why when we do something there, if somebody says, oh, these are ceremonies. Anything ceremonial, truly ceremonial, would never be done in public. There are ceremonial aspects and there are ceremonial foundations, but no ceremonies are done in public or for the public eye. But we do have socials. We have potluck dinners that we invite people to. We have powwows that we invite people to, and competition powwows that we have as well. And so just last weekend we were with the Baltimore American Indian Center, and they had their annual powwow, 48th annual powwow at Timonium Fairgrounds. Mr. Lewis Campbell is a person who promotes and works behind the scenes at a variety of cultural events. So even if you don't get in touch with me, if you want to get in touch with Lewis, he can provide you with quite a bit of information. You can also get on powwows.com because that will provide you with listings of events all across North America. You can visit with the Baltimore American Indian Center and with any other tribes that live in the state of Maryland. They all have their own websites and contact information. So yes, a variety of ways for you to get involved in social situations that you as the public can partake in. And definitely bring your children with you.
So we get a final round of applause for our guests.